Alright, Joe. Been out here putzing around with the REO truck some. I got the headlights remounted. Just been cleaning up some odds and end parts. I took off the air cleaner and sanded all those parts, got them cleaned up, painted, and put back on. I went ahead and removed all these little marker lights from the front and the back. Got them in the garage working on them. Got the little U-bolts that I left on here after removing the stake bed, taking them off. And I spent a good couple hours out here yesterday with a bottle jack and a come along, straightening out that old tire rack. And I think I got it pretty straight, close enough. I am gonna have to finish taking this off. The other one fell off as I was straightening it out. I'm gonna have to make some new ones. Let's see if I can get you a better view. I ain't casting a shadow. But these are a little bit rusted out. Luckily it's a simple enough shape. I can just cut this out of sheet metal. There's two bends, one here and one here, after putting the holes in. And I can just weld in some new ones. So I got that, and like I said, I've removed the brackets for the old tail lights here and the license plate bracket. I got them in the garage, cleaning them up to get ready to repaint those. So that's what I've been working on. Let me take y'all back in the garage and I'll show you the progress I've made on those little marker lights. So like I said, I've been working on fixing up these old pedestal lights. This is probably the worst one, and I'm only gonna be able to probably fix 3 of the 4. This little piece here looks like somebody hit something and just totally destroyed the top cap to it. And when I was taking it off, the threaded part just broke off. But, and actually the rear ones, in place of the lenses, had some little metal covers. Now, I could probably find some new old stock lenses to fit these. I'd kind of like them to look a little bit fatter. And I really like these little bases they sit on. I think I want them in nickel. So in the house, I've actually been printing new gasket to go around these little pedestal bases. The new ones I'm making are actually going to make it stand up off the fender, whatever it's mounted to, a little bit higher, with a little black rim around it. And I made a little groove so that this will just sit down flush, and that should keep water from getting back under it. Because as you can see outside there on the fenders, this gasket's actually causing the hole to rust out and get bigger under there, because just trapping water under there. So with my new gasket, I'm going to try to, like I said, make it seal a lot better. But these are 2 pieces, and the lenses are designed to sit in the grooves, and modern lenses aren't like that. As you can see, they're bigger than that groove, and they ain't going to fit down in there. They'll actually fit over top of an actual lens. So I made me some adapters on the 3D printer, just a couple little rings here. These lights have a little groove inside here. They're designed to snap on like the modern lights. So I just made a little groove for them to snap on, and I made a little ring here that can fit into the old groove where the original lenses would have gone. And that's going to allow me to use these snap-on lenses just like that in these old headlights. Excuse me, turn signal, marker lights, tail lights, wherever they're used. So I've printed some of those out. I've already actually completed one of these lights. So this is what they end up looking like after a good bit of polishing and putting in the new lenses with those snap rings. And I went ahead and cleaned up that little pedestal mount and nickel plated it. So I think these are going to look lovely. Getting all these brackets and stuff put in a primer. It's too cold for me to paint in the garage right now. These bars actually run under the fenders to those marker lights, and it's what holds the wire in place, keeps it protected from the tire and road debris. So I've got them in primer, and again, once it warms up, they'll get some paint on them. Spent some time over the holidays getting the garage cleaned up a little bit. Whew. And today I was out here just piddling. I decided to fix that really broken marker light. If you can see that there. I took out the post out of the other one, and I turned out another one on the lathe. I've still got to cut the threads in it, but that'll be good to go then. So I've got these parts cleaned up to be plated. I've got the two halves of those lights all polished up. And so tomorrow I'll cut the threads on these and start getting these plated. And I'll pick up some more lenses for those. These rear lights are supposed to have these metal backs, and I was going to polish them up and plate them, but some of them actually have some pits and holes in them, so let's see if I can 3D print some of these out of plastic. Maybe use ABS, and then just like I did the emblems, copper plate them, and then nickel plate them so that it'll be kind of shiny just like the aluminum there. I printed out some more TPU rubber gaskets for the bases, and I got the little pedestal mounts all nickel plated. I just got to get these parts polished up, and I'll be ready to go on to the bases. Along with that, I printed out some more adapter rings. Only did 2, and I decided not to reuse these metal ones because all the pits, one of these actually has a hole all the way through, so I went into Tinkercad and 3D printed a replica piece here. And I don't want to paint it. I actually want to nickel plate this to make it nice and shiny. So today I'm going to go through the process of getting this sanded. I'm only going to plate this one side. I'll get this sanded and smoothed and show you how I put my conductive paint on it. And then I'll get it into the copper plating bath to get a nice thick coat of copper on this side. When I designed this, I actually made it just a little bit thinner so when I added the copper layer, it'll come out to the right thickness here. And of course, after the copper, I'll shine that up and I'll give it a coat of nickel, and it'll look nice and shiny and new. I made 2 of these. I'll show you that process here in a minute. All right, y'all, welcome back. I already got one of these sanded, and I'm going to show you sanding this other one, and then we'll go to doing the conductive paint on here. This is ABS. I like working with ABS because it is so forgiving. You'll notice there's still some layer lines in here. I'm not trying to get rid of them completely. Just knock them down to where when I do the conductive paint, it'll fill them in and we'll end up with a nice smooth surface. So this is what we started off with right out of the 3D printer, and it's kind of rough. So let's get to it. Now with sanding plastic, you want to use light pressure and keep moving because you don't want to melt and get gummy. You just want to take it off. Alright, that's pretty good for machine sanding. Like I said, there's still layer lines in there, and that was actually pretty coarse. I was doing that with 120 grit paper. You really have to make sure you do not let the sander stop in one spot or you'll dig in a gouge real quick. So that's ready. Now I've got these sanding sponges. I like these. I got these recently. They're Duragold sanding sponges. They're flexible. This box comes with a variety of grits from 120 up into the thousands, and they just really work good for irregular surfaces, plastic, polishing metal, because they just flex and conform. It's a whole lot better than sandpaper. You get really good contact with the part. It's nice and even. All right, I think we're ready for our conductive paint. Get rid of our sand and dust there. Now, for my conductive paint, I don't know if you can tell there, but it's already separated from sitting. But here on the bottom, I have some really fine mesh copper. And on top of that is some fine mesh graphite powder, followed by the acetone layer you can see here. Now I'm not going to mix this up right away because I like to do it in stages. And the first thing I like to do is get it good and wet with the acetone and just start the plastic to melting. So I just dip the brush in just a little bit and wet the surface. You do have to keep it good and wet because it'll get sticky and you'll get brush streaks. So every time I go to touch it, I'll dip that brush. You can use just the graphite, but I find putting that little bit of copper powder in there helps to fill in little cracks and crevices. And it gets the plating to start building up much quicker. All right, so now I got this one wet. I stir a little bit just to get that graphite mixed in. I'm not stirring the very bottom yet. I will dip the brush down in there and get a little bit of the copper on the tip of the bristles. And now I'm just going to smooth it on there, keeping it as wet as I can. If I were plating the whole part, I could actually get this mixed up and just dunk it. Or like I said, you could spray it on, although you'd have to keep shaking whatever you're spraying with just to keep it mixed, because it settles pretty quick. This is some messy stuff. And just get messier. Oh, shoot. Yep. That's it. Very good. All right. All right, y'all. Welcome back. Oh, while I was waiting for those to dry, I went ahead and polished up the bases and started reassembling the pedestals. I put new wires on these little nibs for the bulbs, so they'll have fresh, good, soft insulation on them instead of the cracked stuff. Don't want any problems like that. And I chased some more threads for these bolts. I'm missing one of them, and found the size is 10-32. So tomorrow I want to go to the Tractor Supply to pick up some new lenses. I'll pick up some bulbs and one of these little 10-32 bolts while I'm at it. I went ahead and buffed this one up so you can see what it looks like. No sense in showing you the process twice. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a really fine sanding pad, because a lot of this is just excess on here. Once the acetone dries, the leftover copper and graphite just is a powder on the surface. So just a fine grit of really fine sandpaper, this is 800 to 1000, to just knock off that excess is all it really takes. The surface isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be close enough, because remember, we're going to try and get some copper plated on here. A little under 1/4 millimeter thick, so that'll fill in most scratches and imperfections. And I'll be able to sand that a little bit before I polish it. All right. So now it's quite shiny at this stage, but you also want to take like a cotton or paper towel and just finish burnishing it up real shiny. It'll almost look metallic from the graphite that's on there. And then it'll be ready to go in the plating bath. There we go, nice and shiny. So I'll take these in, and let them dry up overnight, get the excess acetone out of them, and I'll stick them in the plating bath and I'll show you what they look like coming out. All right, folks, it's the next day. I already went through the process of cleaning this one up. I polished the copper and I put the nickel plating on it. The nickel's not yet been polished. So that's what it looks like when it comes out of the plating bath after the nickel. But this is what you get when it comes out of the copper bath. Now this has been plated 3 times, and in between I would go through and sand off all these dendrites and smooth up the surface some. So this is the last time it was getting the copper plate, and I'm just going to get it finished up, sanded and polished up and ready for the nickel. But I figure I'd go ahead and show you just as a comparison. I think I got it pretty close. It's not quite as domed as the original, but I think it'll be close enough. I'm going to go ahead and take this over and get it polished up so you can see what the final finish will look like. Before I do that, I do have to sand it a little bit because the surface does have a few imperfections. Just little dendrite growth. Even the nickel will do that. I'm not a professional plater, but just some really fine sandpaper will get rid of most of that. At least for the nickel. The nickel doesn't go on as thick, which is why you have to plate initially with the copper. This copper is about 1/4 millimeter thick on here, maybe a little bit more in spots. And because of that, I do need to sand it down because it is not going to fit in here until I get all these dendrites off and get down to the proper thickness there on that flange. Now when I printed these off and I designed them in Tinkercad, I actually made this part a little bit thinner, knowing that the copper plating was going to take up some space. So I'll get to sanding that once I get this all sanded and polished up. I won't bore you with the sanding process. Sanding metal does take quite a while, even with power tools. So it's just going to be boring. I'll just bring it back once I get it sanded, then I'll show you it again, and then I'll show it polished. All right, y'all, I got the copper one all sanded and ready to polish. Still got a few little defects left in it, but the copper plating on there is so thin in some spots that I'm afraid to sand it anymore. If I sand through, I have to replate it and do it all over again. I did get the nickel one all polished up. Nice and shiny. So it's done and ready to go back in. So I'm going to go ahead and get this polished and come back and show you it ready for the nickel plating. Alright, y'all. I got this other copper one, the other back. I got the copper polished. It's ready for its nickel plating. I went ahead and put the lights together, tested the bulbs, and made sure all that worked. I think they've turned out nice so far. Once I get that nickel plated and polished, I think we're going to be good. Be time to move on to another project for the truck. It's still too cold for me to be painting. So I'm thinking about working on a latch for the tailgate. It didn't have one. I've been working on cleaning up the hinges and getting those remachined so I can put them back together and use them again. But it was just outright missing any kind of latch for that tailgate. I had some boards screwed up to it and a bungee strap on the other side, so I'm going to see if I can do something a little bit better than that. Still something that'll, you know, look appropriate for the truck. So I may have to get out the forge or do some work with the metal lathe. I don't know. Thinking about a giant bolt latch of sorts. We'll see. But I think that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really like to know what you think.